buying warehouses across the country to turn them into detention centers, sometimes without even telling local officials. According to new reporting from the Associated Press, the Department of Homeland Security has been scouting massive warehouses in at least 20 communities nationwide and already bought 9 as part of a $45 billion plan to hold up to 92,000 immigrants in detention. For example, in a small town near El Paso, Texas, DHS spent $120 million on 3 warehouses that are roughly the size of 4.5 Walmart supercenters. But the mayor of this predominantly Hispanic town said nobody from the federal government bothered to pick up the phone or even send us any type of correspondence letting us know what's about to take place. In some cases, local and even state officials say they found out about ICE's plans through news reports or even activists. And beyond objecting to mass deportations, these communities say they're worried these centers will strain water supplies, emergency services, and other infrastructure, especially because of the sheer size of some of these facilities. Like this one is in a Georgia town with a population of 5,000 people, and ICE is planning to hold up to 10,000 detainees in it. So that's double the town itself. DHS pushed back on calling these sites warehouses, saying in a statement they'll be very well structured detention facilities meeting our regular detention standards. All of this comes as support for ICE is sagging. In fact, a recent poll shows that 40% of the country thinks Trump has gone too far when sending ICE agents into cities. Newsgirls and the Associated Press will keep reporting on ICE's plans to expand their detention centers, so follow to stay in the loop.
ICE is buying incinerators, and now we have proof. A Navy contract was just released showing the Navy is
They need Y'all aren't going to believe this. So we know that ICE has begun buying mega warehouses for detention centers all across the U.S. Here's a map showing some of them. But did you know they're building Neuralink clinic sites right beside the detention centers? In Miami, Florida, there's a Neuralink's clinical site at the University of Miami and is located near the Chrome Detention Center. And the Chrome Detention Center, there was reports from late 2024 to early 2025 noted that detainee deaths involving neurological symptoms prompting calls for investigations. Then in Phoenix, Arizona, there's a Neuralink research site that is based at the Barrow Neurological Institute, situated near ICE facilities where, according to reports, solitary confinement times increased significantly. There's also a Hawaii connection where allegations have suggested potential connections to Honolulu, FDC Honolulu, and Straub Medical Center, involving transferred detainees raising questions about logistical proximity to medical facilities. Now, we know back in the day there was these specific camps that were doing experiments on people. Makes you wonder. Not only that, but why do they need mega detention centers when these people are supposed to be deported? Kind of makes you wonder who's really going to be sent to these camps, especially when Neuralink looks very similar to the mark of the beast. Y'all, every day there's more and more proof of the times we're living in.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Chachodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings and salutations to the whole elect. Knows in the gospel, broad living of the standard of Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. You heard her. Neuro link detention centers linked to these ICE warehouses, FEMA camps, right? Now, while people can question the fidelity of this information or fact checking and may find that it can be false articles, because see, Esau, you got to fact check the fact checkers, okay? Now, whether this is a legitimate source or not, the point is there has been verification that ICE has been buying up these facilities, all right, to use them for deterrent or what you call the detainment facilities for alleged migrants or legal migrants, as they like to say. But you got to understand the whole culprit behind it. We're in a time of a societal collapse. Small hats are being exposed. Epstein's files are out. World War III has started. Economic collapse is pretty much here. There's a lot of people that speak out against the system. You have what they call No Kings protests that took place this weekend around the country, and they're getting a little bit more volatile now. All right, people are basically expressing their frustration with ICE and with the war in Iran, and they're not happy with the current administration of this government. So with that being said, it makes all the sense in the world that when all hell break loose, they will put people in these concentration camps. Okay, the apostles have been speaking on this going on over 30 years, man. Brothers have been speaking on this since YouTube, myself included. it's very it's very likely that these camps will be having chipping stations in it. Okay, Apostle Gabar, he used to go into that a lot, a couple years back, on how these detention centers will have microchipping stations in it, because that's the bribe. Okay, that's the ultimatum. You get out, you get the chip, you can get out and live your life. If you don't take the mark of the beast, then hey, sorry for you. You're just gonna rot in here, and eventually till you die or starve out, or we gonna torture your ass, or we gonna give you the guillotine. Either way it go, it's gonna be you gotta choose the mark of the beast if you want to get out of that joint. That's just what it is. All right. So anyway, the first video I played, it was pretty much along the same lines, but the Neuralink facilities is really what make it home, because Neuralink deals with brain chipping. Okay, and we know that Elon Musk wants to brain chip so many thousands of people before the end of the year. And with this Neuralink shit being the new culprit of a new better life for certain people, that's going to be very enticing when there's no food, there's no water, when you want to go back into society, when AI is taking over, you want to live in your plush apartment, you want a social credit based system. Taking that chip is going to be a walk in the park for majority of you people, because majority of the people, they don't know what the hell is going on. All right. And this lady, she broke it down. She said it's looking more like the mark of the beast, because those that don't accept the mark will be put in these concentration camps, if that be the Lord's will. Okay. So it's not going to be a long lesson, but through the Spirit, this is a precautionary tale, because you got Israelite camps out here that do not push this prophecy. Okay. They do not push the chip. They do not push FEMA camps. They don't push any of that. But the scriptures say we have a more sure word of prophecy. Speaking in the ears of my, matter of fact, 2 Ezra 1:15-1. It says, speak, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in their mouth, says the Lord. Now, the concentration camps is prophetic. Okay, you had Jeremiah that was thrown down in the pit, the mire pit. You had the men of the Lord, the apostles, which was locked up in common prison. Hell, Joseph was in prison, in a dungeon. In Revelation, the 2nd chapter, say that fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried for 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, I will give thee a crown of life. You see, that's in the scriptures. And the prison is talking about these detention centers, man. So let's do this real quick. Let's do this. Has ICE purchase 23 detention? And sometimes you gotta word this a certain type of way. Detention facilities around the country. And also too, remember those baseball stadiums, those arenas, football stadiums, basketball arenas, ancient abandoned buildings, abandoned old GM plants, Targets, Walmarts, Sam's Clubs, decommissioned schools. A lot of these structures are still standing. And they already got active FEMA camps here in America. You see? So let's see what Grok says. And okay, says it has been actively buying commercial warehouses. The fuck you think they're gonna use the warehouses for, man? To block people up in it across the U.S. to retrofit into new immigration detention and processing centers as part of a major expansion under the Trump administration. Yeah, that sounds good. But don't you think they can substitute those mandates and say, you know what, this is a time of crisis. People are going batshit crazy, and let's throw them in prison, especially when habeas corpus is suspended. And technically, we're under a national emergency, man. Even though it's not technically declared, this war in Iran that was enacted without Congress approval, this country has been in national emergency since 2001, since Nueve Once, or the 911. With the suspension of habeas corpus, the Constitution goes out the window, Trump could remain dictator. Prime example, he wants to go up for a third term. Hell, shit get bad here in Babylon, you better believe for a fact that he will declare martial law in America, and he will be the residing president until all things are foiled, which we don't see that happening. Okay, I don't see another president after Trump. I just don't see it at this point. I believe something is going to transpire very soon. It's going to send this country into a downward spiral, into immediate lockdowns, and it's going to be like that up until Yahweh Shai comes and get us. But it says to retrofit into new immigration detention and processing centers as part of a major expansion under Trump administration. But the number of completed purchases is significantly lower, reported to around 7 to 11 or up to possibly 9 to 10 in some early March 2026 updates, with the total targeting plan involving roughly 23 or 24 sites. Exactly why fucking TSA ain't getting paid, because they putting all the money into this. ICE, which is U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, part of DHS, is expanding detention capacity dramatically, aiming to add tens of thousands of beds towards 92,600 or more, using about 38 to 45 billion, Trump said billions and billions and billions of dollars, and funding from recent legislation, which that's sad. But you can't pay your airport workers? That's crazy, man. It says the strategy involves acquiring large, empty, or underused commercial warehouses, like the lady what she showed you. That's going to be FEMA camp. She said 10,000. You could fit 20, 30,000 people in those buildings, man. Got basement area, man. You got dock area. Set up processing centers in the front. You got security booths. It makes all the sense in the world. In conveying them, it says in converting them rather than building from scratch or relying solely on contracts with private operations or local jails. It says plan typically describes 16 smaller processing centers, which there will be microchipping stations in there and guillotines. There will be instruments of cruelty in there, torture, devices, all types of stuff, graping. It says 8 larger mega detention centers, which go up to 10,000 beds each. Damn, that's 8,000 beds right there, man. For a total of 23 to 24 facilities. And this is just adding on in addition, because a lot of people, they just plan on unaliving in those concentration camps. Okay, a lot of you ain't even going to get the processing out, because they just going to unalive a lot of you. Going back into 2012, 2011, 2010, that era. Remember those FEMA coffins that said they was able to fit up two adults and a small child? They had a ton of FEMA coffins out there. It says these will support faster processing and deportation, which they ain't going to deport. They're going to unalive Jake, which detainees spend short periods in processing sites before transferred to larger ones. It says purchases are often done quietly via DHS with deeds filed after the fact, which has frustrated some local officials and sparked community opposition over infrastructure, transparency, and other concerns. Some proposed deals have fallen through due to local pushback or seller decisions. Okay? So, bingo. Additional sites have been toured or eyed. Kansas City, Missouri. They need one here for real. I mean, they got a lot of space for them out here. Like, they got FEMA camps out here. But New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Tennessee. But not all deals closed. Some will walk back or block. Yep, because they was protesting that. Not every targeted site will necessarily become a detention facility, pushback, logistical issues, water, sewer capacity. But 23 figure consistently referred to as planned or targeted number of warehouses in the overall initiative, which they got more than 800 active camps here. Whether they understaffed or whether they are not up to survival parts, they don't care. They'll throw you in a dungeon at the end of the day, because it's not about being comfortable. And concentration camp is not built for comfortability. Okay, they gonna chip you people in there, and if you don't get the chip, then you're going to be in there till you rot, because once the Constitution and everything like that is thrown out the window, they can hold you indefinitely. You can be in there with no out date. So they say they lock your ass up July 23rd, 2026. They ain't going to have no out date. Ain't no out date there. You just going to be in there until you come up missing. And a lot of you Israelites, too, are going to get thrown in there. I'm talking about a lot of you wicked Israelites are going to be thrown in there, and you're going to be dealt with just like the regular heathen. But it says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. It says, fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness. So those of you that come up against this word and call us conspiracy nuts and this and this and that. Hey, you're going to have your partake in the judgment. Okay, because our families, people we work with, people we grew up with, they've all scoffed us. They call us crazy. They said we wasn't right in the mind, conspiracy nuts. But now, all of a sudden, the conspiracy nuts have been proven true once again. From the Icky Vicky to 2020 to the martial law being on the streets to the chip, to even to the elites being the Illuminati. They called us a bunch of conspiracy nuts on that. To the concentration camps. How much more do we have to stand corrected before you people realize that maybe the Lord is dealing with the prophets, man? Let's go here to the book of Proverbs, man. Because Jake, you people, you don't get it. And don't get it twisted. Some brothers are going to have to face that fate too, man. Meaning that some brothers are going to have to go through that guillotine. It's written. But the scriptures say, be thou faithful unto death, I will give thee a crown of life. Like Apostle R say, he said, be prepared to lose your life, man. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Because if you set your mindset around the worst possible scenario, which, I'm not telling brothers to have a negative mindset, but just knowing that it can go that way. Like, it can get bad, have your mind fixated on that and build your spirit up to be able to deal with that. Because if they lock you up, they don't plan on letting you out, especially if you're speaking against this word. This Neuro order. All right. This is the book of Proverbs 1:21. It says, wisdom cried without, and she uttered her voice in the streets. She cried in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates, and in the city she opened her words, saying, how long will ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? Yeah. We warn everybody. We warn our families. We warn people we work with. We warn you people out on the streets. And now since this war in Iran is transpiring, hey, this word is getting more and more people starting to come up, man. Okay, I remember back in the day, we used to get a lot of traction to the camp. People come up left and right. And it died down for a little bit, but we still get a fair number of people that come up and contend. But for the last 2 weeks, man, we've been getting people that's coming up and dealing. Last week, the week before last, that week, people been coming up consistently dealing because now they're saying, wait a minute, let me see what these guys are talking about. They make a lot of sense now. And you ain't seen nothing yet, man. And it says here, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity, and scorners delight in their scornings, and fools hate knowledge? Oh, you're just a bunch of conspiracy nuts. That ain't gonna happen. Okay, well, look at it. Trump, Neuro 47 is getting ready to throw your black ass in a concentration camp, and they're getting ready to have their way with you. Okay, ICE already graping up young women and putting babies in them and shipping them off to separate detention facilities. This thing is getting ready to go down, man. And I don't think Jake really know. It says, turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit into you, and I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. Yeah, they did ignore us. They flipped us off. You in a coat, nigga. Y'all ain't right. Okay. But ye have said it, no, all my counsel, and would have none of my reproof. It says, I will also laugh at your calamity, and I will mock when your fear cometh. Yeah. So when you in these concentration camps, getting tortured, getting your toes cut off, getting repeatedly raped, electrocuted, waterboarding, whatever it may be, they may chop you limb for limb in there, man. Then you're going to know that the men of the Lord have been warning you. And it says, and when your fear coming as a desolation, and your destruction coming as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish coming upon you, then they should call upon me, but I will not answer. It says they should seek me early, but they should not find me. It reads, it says, for they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. And they were none of my counsel, and they despised all my reproof. Therefore should they eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. So, like I said, man, they going to chip a lot of you in them concentration camps, man. And they going to make still unalive your ass. And a lot of you Israelites, too, that know you're Israelites, a lot of you are going to take that chip because your leaders are not telling you the skinny of it. They telling you, look, man, don't listen to them GMS guys. Them some bums. Don't listen to them. Okay, well, we're going to see how much of a bum we is, man, when the Lord really vindicates us, man. Okay? Oh, no. Let's go back here. 2 Ezra 16. And let's start at verses 2 16:68. But behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they should take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. That's the chip. That's the chip. They say, look, man, you want that ham sandwich, or you want that bag of plain potato chips with no salt. Hey, take the chip. A lot of you gonna take the chip just to get a cup of water, man, because everything is on an electrical grid. The grid isn't gonna go off. You're gonna have access to water, and resources are gonna be scarce in them days. And the people that's gonna have the resources is gonna be the men that's running these concentration camps. So hey, they may donate some type of attack in the city, and then to be justified on forcing everybody into prison to say, well, look, we got provisions here, we got water, we got food, we got shelter, come with us. Don't fucking listen to that. You see a busload of troops loading people in, go the opposite way. All right? We'll manage. You see the troops, like when you play the game The Last of Us, you try to avoid the troops, man, at all costs, because they see you, they gonna kill you on sight. So let's just say if a disaster hits Kansas City, Missouri, and then we got FEMA troops telling people, well, look, if you want water and supplies and all this other shit, and we're talking about at the time of a economic collapse, you ain't gonna follow them, man. Because in some cases, when you do have disaster readiness, FEMA come down there and, they dish out water. Like even for my job, we had to do this FEMA training shit, in case we get called out site. Let's just say if a tornado hits Oklahoma, we all have the training to go down there and help clean up, whether it be passing out water and all that other stuff. That's a different case. But in the time of a societal collapse, when they rounded people up, the last thing you want to do is go in the direction of martial law. That would be the worst thing you've done, man. Like, hey, catch me if you can. You gotta fucking find me, man. We ain't willingly going to no concentration camps. Not just by willful, now they kicking our doors and grab us at gunpoint. What else we gonna do? We gonna fight and get shot in the face? No, let the process play out. Let the Lord does his miracle, play it out. Don't bug out, just like, okay, shit, fuck it. What choice do I have? An angel can get you out of that situation. An angel can literally flip the vehicle over and you survive it, and the angel can let you out of the back door. I've always envisioned that, we were in prison and they're calling us up and, to give an account of what we believe in and, to take or reject the chip. And, I've always envisioned that they have brothers in a cell and they're calling one by one, and the angel is disguised as a guard, man. He walks you out. He's nice to you, hey, how you doing? You okay? What you want for your last meal? And all of a sudden, you think you're going to the corridors of the outer court where the magistrate and the judges and the fucking executioners are, and then all of a sudden he leads you out the side of the concentration camp and tell you to keep going and don't look back. And you turn around and he's gone. That was an angel. And you're going to have miracles that's going to take place like that, man. You got to believe that. All right? It ain't all bad, brothers. It's going to get scary, but it ain't, trust me. The Lord he gonna take care of us, man. Okay, we're not gonna get the worst of the worst of what these people gonna get. Even if we do get jacked up in there, it ain't gonna, trust me. These people, they got it a lot worse than us. And it says, and they that consented to them should be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot. So if you get the chip, you through. You don't, you're through. It says, for there should be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Meaning they're gonna go city to city, causing ruckus and chaos, neighborhood to neighborhood, and they're going to get who they can get. And they should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh. For they should waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they should be tried as gold in the fire. Yeah, because, we going to have to deny that chip at all costs, man. Okay, do not take the fucking RFID chip. Just like with the C19 Icky Vicky, we stood up and was against that. It's going to be the same thing. This time it's just going to be a matter of life and death, or if they just going to allow you to starve or die off. Either way it go, we going to have to make a conscious decision. All right, they're not going to sneak it in you. They're not going to put it in you while you sleep. None of that shit, unless the Lord just hates you. And if they do that, then that means the Most High wants to destroy you. But it's going to be a conscious decision. Do you opt into this chip? Do you want to take the chip? And the answer to that is hell to the goddamn no. No, I'm not taking it. Okay, well, throw him back in the cell. No food, no water for you for 2 days. Put your ass in a dark room, bug out, But you're going to have an angel that is going to comfort you. And they may come back in 2 days and say, look, you want to take the chip? This time we'll give you a steak dinner. You hungry, man. Look at you. The hour of temptation. You know? And then you tell them to go fuck themselves. You know, I'll starve to death, man, before I sit up here and take your goddamn mark and get hit with a missile. I'm cool. Nah. Fuck them. Zechariah 14:1, it says, Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and the spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. It reads, For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people should not be cut off from the city. So there you go, man. The women gonna be great. They're gonna separate the children from the women, because most of these women are single mothers anyway. You know, the father, he may be somewhere dead in the alley, got shot up or beat down trying to go in somebody's house and try to get their food. You know, call one to the noodle, and they grab up the woman and the kid and put them in the concentration camps, and they may just unalive you and your kids together, man, because Esau don't give a damn. We just read that they should go be like a madman sparing none. You think they gonna spare J kids? No. And those of you fighting age, they're gonna grab you up, put you in a headlock, and throw you straight in the Middle East, throw you right into the heat of the battle for you to be missile food, man. Revelation 2:10, then I end it. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. It says, Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried. And it says, And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So there you go, brothers. Stay faithful in this thing, man. Don't get swayed by the foolery or the buffoonery of this devil. This devil, he's the one that needs to be afraid. He's the one that totally went overboard and offended the Heavenly Father. We've paid our price. So what else do we need to be afraid of? Scripture says, I will not fear what man can do unto me, man, but fear Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. So let Esau do what he do, man. But with that, all praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will you edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.